gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. Today, we're gonna take a look at Crossout's planned balance changes for July 2025. Quick disclaimer, nothing you read here is final yet. Things are still subject to change. The first thing they talk about is they're gonna increase the projectile size of all machine guns and miniguns except for the high caliber ones like the Reaper, the Miller, and the Devourer. This might help out because I'm not sure if you guys experience the same thing, but for example, when I use autocannons, the projectile is a lot bigger and it's easier to aim somehow. Same thing with the Reaper and the Miller. But when I use the smaller machine guns, Vectors, or the Arbiters, it's a little bit more difficult. So hopefully this change makes them easier to use. Looks like all of the automatic shotguns are also getting a buff. Optimal range increased from 18 to 25 meters and maximum range increased from 40 to 50 meters. For the Thunderbolt is also getting a 15% damage increase. The Hammerfall is getting a 7.5% damage increase. And the Breaker is getting a 6.7% damage increase. For the Jongbo and the Fafnir, horizontal spread reduced by 20% and vertical spread reduced by 7%. For the Nidhogg, spread pattern replaced with the pattern similar to the Jormunganders and then reduced by 15%. And for the Jormunganders, spread just reduced by 15%. So they're gonna fire very similarly, but the Jormungander will have a heating perk. I'm sad to see that they didn't increase the projectile speed of any of these weapons because that's the main issue. Hit scan got removed, a lot harder to use. These small changes, I don't think they will help, to be honest. I was gonna talk about this later, but I guess we can talk about it now. You can give your opinion about their balance changes on their subreddit from today until the 3rd of July. If you like the game and you don't want to see it get hurt even more, I would recommend just going over there and give your feedback. Respectfully, of course. Because they've also decided to implement the robotic legs into classic PvP. And to be honest, those things have a lot more maneuverability. And honestly, guys, I think they should bring hit scan back. Helicopters and spacecraft are gonna have their own PvP mode, I'm assuming, and hit scan is also gonna be very nice over there. And in classic PvP, the hit scan is gonna be very welcome again. They can leave the ammo changes where everything uses ammo. I'm okay with that. I'm technically also okay with the hit scan removal, but it makes everything just feel worse, and that just kind of sucks. But yeah, starting today until the 3rd of July, you can give some constructive criticism and hopefully they'll listen. For rocket launchers like the Wasp, the Pyrrhid, and the Locust, energy consumption will be reduced from 8 points to 6 points, which is amazing. And because of that, the power score will also be reduced. Durability on all of them is also being increased, which is very nice because these things fall off way too quick, man. One commit ballista can take off all of them at once, which is no bueno. The mass therefore is also increased a little bit, but it's nothing too terrible. Not too long ago, I played these double-barreled rocket launchers, and their biggest issue to me is that they don't have any penetration. They only deal explosion damage, and they were great, I believe, before the penetration changes. After that, they completely fell off. So to me, if they gave these at least 25, 35, maybe 40% penetration, they would perform a lot better. On top of these changes as well, of course. The tracks are also getting a nice buff. Small tracks top speed increased from 95 to 100. Sleipnir top speed increased from 85 to 90. Hardened tracks top speed increased from 80 to 85. Armored track top speed increased from 70 to 75. Tank track top speed increased from 65 to 70. And Goliath track top speed increased from 60 to 65. I believe they're doing this to make these movement parts a little bit more competitive for the robotic legs that are coming into classic PvP. They're also making some changes to fire puddles for the Incinerator. Fire puddle damage to movement parts and speed of heating them up increased by 20%. Lol. Dude, they nerfed the Incinerator out of nowhere a while back, and now they're reverting one of the changes, so that's good. For the Mandrake, the same change, but it's increased by 25%. And for the Porcupines, oh, that's awesome. Same change, but increased by 30%. That is awesome. Yeah, they nerfed they didn't nerf the Mandrake. They nerfed the Porcupine out of nowhere too. They nerfed the Porcupine's projectile speed a while back, and I believe their fire puddle out of nowhere. I think they keep forgetting that the Porcupine is a relic weapon that costs over 20,000 coins. It has to be powerful. For special parts, lol. They're buffing the Tempura again. Same thing. They nerfed the Tempura a while back out of nowhere. Just out of nowhere. The Tempura was effective up to, like, I would say 8k power score, not higher than that. And it was pretty strong at 7k power score, but it really didn't deserve a nerf because almost nobody was using these. But yeah, damage increased by 21%. Lol, that's funny. And also added a 45% resistance to ramp damage and 30% resistance to melee damage. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Oh yeah, I talked about this in my video yesterday. For the Pilgrim and the Photon Cabin, the perk now applies to any type of damage, not just energy damage, which is gonna be amazing. So right now for the Pilgrim and the Photon Cabin, you deal 30% more damage to heated targets if you're using energy weapons. But now it doesn't matter what type of weapon you use. You can use cannons, machine guns. If the target is heated, you'll deal an additional 30% on top of the 100% that you deal from by shooting heated targets. Personally, I had no issues with this perk. I always saw the photon cabin as the energy weapon cabin. The pilgrim though, the pilgrim, nobody wants to use special cabins. I think they should just remove or rework all the special cabins. Like even me on my free-to-play account, I just skipped the special cabins and went straight to the epic cabins because there are epic cabins that are really cheap. I believe the Omnibox and a few cabins were super duper cheap, and I'd rather save 100 more coins to buy an epic cabin than just to buy a special cabin. And now that I think about it, the whole special rarity should just be removed. For the jockey cabin, perk activation zone radius increased from 40 to 50 meters, perk accumulation time reduced from 8 to 6 seconds, and perk cooldown increased from 6 to 7 seconds. For the Oculus 6, all enemy detection radiuses reduced from 150 to 100 meters, and module turning speed upon detecting an invisible enemy reduced by 35%. Huh. Was the Oculus too effective? Because I like to use the Oculus because it's a 1 energy item and, you know, usually you have 1 energy to spare. Let's look at their explanation. With the current energy consumption value, the module has displaced its epic counterpart, Verifier. Since the Oculus was previously unpopular despite having the same energy consumption as a Verifier, we decided to change its parameters rather than increase energy consumption. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I mean, I think both modules should be 1 energy, to be honest, but this also works, I guess. For the epic part, the Tachi is getting a damage increase and added a 45% ram damage resistance and a 30% melee damage resistance. Yeah, they kind of killed the Tachi when they did the thing to where if you go in the same direction as the placement of the Tachi, the beam length is a lot shorter. That they just killed it with that change. And remember what everybody's complaint was? It was a rechargeable lance. Well, guess what we have right now? The Trident shotguns. That's 10 times worse than the Tachi. I think they should just revert that change and keep the Tachi as it was originally. For the Nagual, looks like they saw my video or something. Damage increased by 15%. It's not enough, man. They should have implemented the change I recommended. A 10 clip magazine and every shell has a different perk. For the Varun crossbow, damage increased by 10%, perk damage bonus reduced from 10 to 7%, projectile speed increased by 45%, and the perk no longer affects the projectile speed. That's actually good because having different projectile speeds with a high ping was kind of tricky. These changes are a good start, but I don't think it's enough. For the Astraeus, damage with no charge increased by 67%. Wow. That's a lot. That could be interesting. Damage with a full charge increased by 20%. Damage bonus to overcharge shot reduced from 50 to 25%. Oh wow, big buff. Added 25% bonus to reload speed after an overcharge shot. Big buff, big buff. Oh, the Astraeus. Okay, I might check these out after the change. For the Spike 1 crossbow, durability increased from 336 to 403. That's good, I guess. The Spike needs more love though. For the 80 flute, increased rockets maneuverability, ammunition increased from 6 to 8 pieces. Good start. The flutes are okay. They should have increased the durability of the items themselves because they just get shredded by anything that hits you. Oh boys, look at this. They're nerfing the Joule a little bit. For the AC64 Joule, damage reduced by 7%, which is not enough. Time to overheat reduced by 20%, which is also not enough. Perk overheating slowdown reduced from 25 to 20%, which is good because it had a perk to where I believe the longer you hold down the button, the longer it takes for it to overheat or something like that. Yeah, the Joules, even with these changes, the Joules are still going to remain effective. They're completely changing the Quantum Cabin's perk. I like the Quantum Cabin. If you don't get hit, you deal more damage. Pretty straightforward, but they're changing it. Now, if the vehicle does not receive damage for 2 seconds, weapon damage gradually increases by 5% per second. Maximum bonus is 20%. I should check what it is in game now. I think it's 25, but I'll check in a second. And the bonus reduces upon taking damage. So I'm assuming it doesn't go away immediately. It just goes down slowly. Oh yeah, they're mentioning it right here. The damage was 25% before. I think the Quantum Cabin was fine, to be honest. They should have left it. For the Kensei Cabin, perk reload time reduced from 12 to 6 seconds, which is great. Perk duration reduced from 6 to 4 seconds. I think they should have left it at 6 or at least 5. Personally, I don't like the Kensei Cabin, but I see a lot of people using it. In the game, generally, having a perk other than damage protection or damage is just kind of useless to me. For the Manitao Cabin, perk damage bonus increased from 20 to 30%. Step in the right direction. Step in the right direction. You know what they should do with the Manitao Cabin? The Manitao Cabin was a revolver specific cabin. So what they should do, if you use revolvers with the Manitao Cabin, it just doubles your clip size, because that's the main issue with the revolvers, right? The clip size. And if they did that, they would have to reduce the damage you get from the cabin to like 15% or something. and everybody would start using that cabin. For the Howl cabin, perk activation zone radius increased from 40 to 50 meters, which is good. Perk charging time reduced from 8 to 6 seconds, also good. Perk cooldown time increased from 6 to 7 seconds, also not too horrible. We already talked about the Photon cabin, same thing as a Pilgrim cabin. For the Savior cabin, they're changing the perk as well. Now it increases the damage protection of the weapons mounted to the cabin, except for melee weapons, by 7% every 1000 points of the armored scar durability. Maximum bonus is 28%. Lame. Basically a machinist perk, but on an epic cabin. Very, very lame. They're also nerfing the top speed. What? Speed reduced from 62 to 55 kilometers. Personally, the heavy cabins that go over 60 right now feel great. 55 is slow, man. Tonnage increased from 9,500 to 10,500. Mass limit increased from 18,500 to 21,000, which is okay, and the power is increased by 12%. I don't know, man. The Savior cabin is still gonna be useless. Why would you use a Savior cabin if you have other great cabins? Like, come on. Come on. The Sabbath wheels are also getting a small change. Perk speed bonus increased from 3 to 4%. I believe it was 5% originally, but 4 is better. Perk cooldown time increased from 2 to 3 seconds. For the claw wheels, now the perk starts to reset only after energy damage is dealt, not after firing an energy weapon. Oh, well, that's nice. Yeah, the claw wheels are always kind of hit or miss. For the MR2 Maple, takeoff speed increased from 85 to 100% of the maximum speed. Perk now activates at speeds higher than 65 kilometers instead of 80 before. Yeah, they're gonna have to buff the rotors if they're gonna fight spacecraft and stuff like that. For the impellers, the maximum bonus to yaw speed is now achieved when the impeller is installed at a distance of 5 meters from the center of mass instead of 6 meters. I never knew that was a thing. The Gorilla legs are getting their maximum top speed back. It's going back from 65 to 70 kilometers per hour. Very nice. And guys, check this out. The hovers are finally getting a perk. The perk in the past was you can ignore bumps and holes and blah, blah, blah. But now they're actually getting a perk, which is nice. So for the Icarus Force, added the perk to increase the movement spark's damage protection by 30% for each enemy within a 75-meter radius. Maximum bonus is achieved with 4 enemies within the active range, which is good because if you get bum rushed with hovers, you're pretty much cooked. And for the Icarus Force, increase the armored scar power by 20% for every 18% of its durability lost. Okay. The bonus does not depend on the amount of such hovers, but decreases proportionally with other mounted movement parts, except for rotors. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, this is the widget nerf I was talking about. So for the widget wheels, bonus to cabin power in the second mode reduced from 80 to 35%. That's big. That's big. Power penalty increased from 7 to 8%. Oof. And for the steering wheels, 14 to 16%. And the delay before switching modes increased from a half a second to 1 second. They didn't need to do all that. Come on. Power unit is finally getting an energy reduction. It's going from 4 to 2 energy. Yeah, 4 was way too much, man. And the power score is also getting reduced. Now for the legendary parts. For the Charon. Oh, sorry. It's not a Charon. It's a Charon. Unbelievably, the CH in English is a K. I don't know how, but it's a K. For the Charon, damage increased by 15%, both from the projectile hits and from the perk. Distance requirements for charging the perk reduced from 80 to 50 meters. Oh, that's great. Maximum spread reduced by 25%, also great. Spread increase when turning reduced by, yep, all the complaints I had about the weapon, they're fixing. Beautiful. For the Athena, very interesting, but they're buffing the Athenas again. Volley size reduced from 10 to 8 rounds. Damage increased by 25%. Healing from a hit increased from 0.56 to 0.7%. And they added welding points to the corners of the base. Very, very interesting. They mentioned very unpopular weapon. Yeah, that's because they nerfed it to the ground. There were only a handful of people that could really effectively use the Athenas. For everybody else, these were just super duper hard to use. Especially for the price it was to get these. They should have never changed them. The compiler is also getting an additional change. Reload time after a plunging shot now reduces by 65%, or I think they mean reduced. And they mentioned the extra shot from the perk shot is rarely used. Yeah, that's because it takes a while to go into the second mode, and then you still need to aim, and you're just wasting time. You're just better off to reload your normal shot and shoot again. Unless both of you guys are in cover and, you know, you can use it at that moment, I guess. The Toadfish is only getting a durability increase. I think they should just increase the projectile speed as well. For the Tierces 1, wow, damage increased by 70%. Reload time increased from 1.5 to 3 seconds. Added welding points to the corner of the base. 70% is a lot. Now, in my fusion video, I used it. I was using the commit, and then I went to the Tierces, and the Tierces was absolutely disappointing. So 70% might just be enough. For the Jupiter, the ball lightning damage radius reduced from 12 to 9 meters. Yep, way too easy to use. Yep, exactly as I mentioned. That should maybe already fixed the weapon. For the commit, damage reduced by 20%, which is okay, but check this out. Bonus damage to structural parts increased from 85 to 130%. Basically, they're not changing anything. And projectiles hitting environmental objects no longer have a physical model, so you cannot shoot it in front of enemies anymore to get, to mess them up, which is fine. The weapon's already pretty powerful on its own. Woo, the cohort is also getting a buff. People don't seem to get how strong the cohort is. If you have multiple teammates with the cohort perk, I mean, you gotta use comms, but you can toggle, or not toggle, you can rotate who uses a perk, and you'll have a 30% resistance to damage for a very, very long time. But yeah, tonnage is getting increased for the cohort from 9,200 to 10,400, and the mass limit is increased from 24,000 to 25,500. I think the mainframe is still the highest, but this is pretty close. Oh no, never mind. They say the cabin will have the highest mass limit now. Interesting. Very nice. Nice. Very nice. Okay, for the beholder. Oh, yeah. The cabin that nobody uses anymore. For the beholder, active time increased from 5 to 8 seconds. Yeah, that's pretty good. And reload time reduced from 23 to 16 seconds. Pretty good. And for mode 2, invisibility is now removed with a delay, and not only after taking damage, but also after firing. Invisibility removal delay increased from 1.8 seconds to 3 seconds. Yeah, the beholder cabin was or used to be my favorite cabin, but like I said, if you don't get damage protection or more damage, the perks are kind of useless from cabins. And for the mainframe cabin, power bonus now activates when 15% of durability is lost instead of 700 points before. Yeah, that was way too easy to get. But the perk bonus is now 25% instead of 40%. Damage bonus now activates when 35% of durability is lost instead of 1900 points, and the perk is now 10%, and damage protection bonus now activates when 65% of the durability is lost instead of 3500 points before, and now it's 20% instead of 30. Oh, I think I read it wrong. So they're basically also nerfing the percentages. So instead of 40% power, you get 25%. Instead of 50% more damage, you get 10%, and instead of 30% damage protection, you get 20%. Okay, yep, that makes more sense, because this cabin basically gives you 3 perks. I think people might actually go back to the cohort cabin, because the cohort gives you 30% resistance, you and your teammates. Yeah, the cohort might actually make a small comeback. And now for the change everybody has been talking about, integrating the robotic legs into classic PvP battles. They do their best to give us a whole explanation of why they're doing it, but we all know that they're gonna introduce spacecraft in the next battle pass, and it's basically gonna be what I assume is helicopters versus spacecraft and walkers versus cars. That's why they're doing this. I do think that you'll still be able to use the robotic legs and ground vehicles in the space game mode, maybe depending on the maps, but you're gonna be kind of useless in that game mode. And so once they drop this update, they're gonna have to do a lot of balancing, because as you know right now, in the helicopter PvP, everything has different parameters. All the vehicles have more power, they deal more damage, and I believe also have more resistance. Everything is different, so it's gonna be tricky for them to balance it out. So these are the preliminary changes. So far, I'm seeing that they're reducing the durability, the top speed, turning speed, reducing the acceleration, and also changing their perks slightly. For example, look at this, the Dino Legs, now it can only be done after a complete stop, only vertically and to a limited height. Bro, they're completely killing the Dino Legs. I mean, I get it. They don't want people with Dino Legs to go jump on objects to where Harvester builds or melee builds cannot get to them. But that's just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this change, man. Yeah, so after this update drops, crossout balancing is gonna be very messy. But hopefully, I think they're gonna be actively fixing and tweaking stuff to where the experience isn't fully ruined. The one thing they do need to change though is the freaking matchmaking. If I'm playing 7k builds, I don't want to face 12k builds. I don't know what happened. So again guys, go to their subreddit, let them know that the matchmaking is fucked up. Remember that Avalanche video I did? The build was 14k and I was facing 23k builds, almost 10,000 power score higher than me. That was absurd. I know they're doing it for the queue times because the queue times have been shorter, but limit the power score difference, not more than 3k at least. But yeah guys, that was it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Hopefully this video was informative. If it was, I hope I earned your like and a subscription to the channel. If you guys want to see more, you can do that by watching one of these 2 videos over here, and I'll see you there in a minute. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Peace.